Thank you, Mr. Roy. I watched the testimony earlier, and the first part I saw was Jim Jordan incorrectly saying a lot of things about President Trump. Started with saying that this Mueller investigation didn't show anything concerning Trump. There was no connection. That's because Bill Barr redacted it and made his own opinion on the front end of what the case said, what Mueller said. And Mueller's report made it clear that there was Russian involvement. And the first thing that the Russians did was to send some folks up to Trump Tower to talk to Junior and son-in-law and a few other Trumpers and talk about getting something done. And that woman that came up there to meet with him ended up being in the Russian Duma. So the Russians must have thought pretty well of her. She did her job well. The Senate did a study, bipartisan study, on whether there was Russian collusion. And the Senate Intelligence Committee came out and said, yes, there was. That Manafort went over to France or wherever and met with Klimnikov and gave him the polling data, and this is where we need help. And then that ended up getting to Prigozhin in St. Petersburg, and then they started spewing out all the false social media stuff to make blacks think they shouldn't vote and other people get confused about this and that, and trying to help Trump. And that's what they did. The Russians helped Trump get elected in 2016, and the Senate Intelligence Committee said that, and the Mueller Committee said, the Mueller report said that. And then as far as this trial goes, that you say there's not been a president indicted before. There's never been a president that was so easy to indict. The guy has committed more crimes than all the other presidents put together. Michael Cohen got tried and sent to prison because of what he did in this case. But Bill Barr didn't want to try the president on this, who was individual one, basically saying, the president did it, but we're sending Michael Cohen to jail and to protecting individual one. That's what they did. He should have been tried in federal court, but Bill Barr wasn't man enough to do it because he was bought. The president paid off Stormy Daniels and whatever she was, Miss August, whatever, and paid them off so that it wouldn't become public and hurt his presidential campaign. And Michael Cohen took the order, said he had to do it. And they did that. So it was federal election involvement, and it was criminal law. And the jury found him guilty. How many counts did they find him, Professor, how many counts were there that he was found guilty? 34? 34 times. A jury. Americans, citizens, voir by both sides, chosen on 34, they all agreed. 34 to nothing. Every single one of them said guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt. And y'all are questioning the American jury system and say because they're in a state court, their ruling wasn't proper. You know, you could commit a murder. Hamilton and Burr had their duel, and in New Jersey, I guess it was, and there should be a criminal case, and there was. They want to, this whole law is about helping Trump, who's still hung up on this guilty verdict, which he's not going to spend any time on, or even have to pay a fine. There's no need for this law. But Trump wants to get it in federal court because he's got friends there, and like Mr. Raskin mentioned, Eileen Cannon and what she did, which was disgusting all around. She ruined the classified briefs, files case, classified information. And he was guilty as hell of that. And she held it and held it and held it until they can't even get the special counsel's report out. And the Supreme Court put the case on January 6th off and off and off so it wouldn't be heard. The Supreme Court is also involved in this. They were wrong to give Trump a free pass. Donald Trump shouldn't make law. He shouldn't do, he shouldn't be where he is. That's what happens when you elect somebody who is emotionally, morally, and intellectually incapable of performing the job that they're chosen. You give him a pass from Doge and says, you're bad work, you're fired. I will yield back.
Thank you, gentleman from Tennessee. I find it interesting that we're now concerned about the intellectual capacity of the President of the United States. I'll now recognize the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank all of you on the panel for your time today and for your testimony. Mr. Epstein, on August 8th,